Welcome back, everybody. I know it was a long break. And now we are starting season 3 of the Great Sources. So today I'm going to give you an introduction to what we're out to do in the following season. But first, I just want to mention briefly, for those of you that are waiting for it, there is a siyum in the works planned for season 2 and the subject of season 2, which is the sugya of living in Eretz Yisrael. Stay tuned for that announcement. Details will follow. That will hopefully happen in the near future. Okay, so today what I want to do is I want to give you an introduction to season 3. Season 3 is going to be about the fundamental works of Torah thought. I'm talking about the Sfarim upon which further Torah Hashkafa is built. So we're talking going back to the early Sfarim of the Rishonim. Those Sfarim upon which all further Torah thought, Hashkafa, is built, or sometimes arguing on, sometimes responding to, we can call it. So here's what I would like to do. This is my mission for this season, to deal with the fundamental Sfarim. And here's what I would like to do. I'm going to start with 6 Sfarim. So I'm committing, to review, to discuss and review 6 Sfarim. The 6 Sfarim are Emunis V'Deis of Sadigain, Chovos Halavavos, Kozri, Midal Levi, Hamuna Harama, Avraham Ibn Daud, Mora Nivukim, and Ar Hashem of Mechaste Kreska. So what I want to do is, on these 6 Sfarim, I would like to give 4 shiurim per sefer. I would do it every other week, so that gives us 1 year. We know what we're doing for the next year. Each sefer is going to get 2 months of focusing on 4 shiurim in total, to give you a review and a sense of the sefer. And the point of this is, if you know these Sfarim, if you understand what these Sfarim are about, then what you have is this a solid base to understand all subsequent Torah Hashkafa thought. And that means even thought which is different than these Sfarim, without going into too much detail, because that we'll do when we learn the Sfarim, but you might sense that these are Sfarim of a certain genre in a certain sense. But even those Sfarim that are different than these, the Sfarim that come after them and are taking a different approach, let's say, in order to understand what they're doing, it's very beneficial, very important, it's fundamental, it's critical to have this fundamental knowledge of these earlier and basic, let's call them Sfarim. So, now, the truth is that if you know what these Sfarim are based on, then you have an even richer knowledge. Meaning, I'm taking these I selected these works because they are fundamental. And this is the basics, this is the basis for further Torah thought. Like I said, even thought that's different is often working off these, and knowing the ideas that are developed in this Sfarim gives you the base for understanding for the Torah. Really, you could say, well, what are these Sfarim based on? Shouldn't we go deeper and look what the influences are on these Sfarim? And in fact, that certainly would enrich your knowledge. I'm not going to focus much on that, because although that will enrich your knowledge, I don't think that's critical. But to know these Sfarim well is basically to know the bedrock of all subsequent Torah Hashkafa. So that's why I select these Sfarim. And after a year of these, after 1 year of doing these, I think we'll be ready for some more Sfarim, perhaps of a different nature and of a different mahalach, and we'll keep an open mind, we'll see then. But for now, I am committing a gambling neder to going through these Sfarim. Now, these are very difficult works. These are not easy Sfarim. And of course, nothing beats learning through them properly. From beginning to end, let's say 5 times each, is reasonable for talking about having a good familiarity with them. If you do learn through them properly, and I hope you do, then these shurim can serve as an introduction, as a review, or a summary of the Sfarim. If you don't have the ability to do that, or for some reason you won't do that, then what I aim to do with these shurim is to supply you with the main ideas from each of these Sfarim. I want to give you a sense. Each sefer, okay, what was it trying to do? What was its agenda? What's the sefer all about? And of course, the content, the main points of the content. We can't cover the whole content of each sefer in 4 shiurim. Some of them will be definitely more challenging than others. But I do think that for each of these Sfarim, 4 shiurim perhaps will be a little flexible about that. Maybe some of them will require more or less. Will be sufficient to give you an adequate sense of, okay, you'll know, after hearing the shiurim, you'll know, here's what the sefer is about. Here are the main points that the sefer discusses. Here is his mahalach. Here's his approach to the Torah's way of thinking. Now, why did I select these 6 Sfarim? So I had basically 2 criteria. The first one is being, like I said earlier, the most fundamental introduction to the basics of Torah thought. Meaning, if you know these Sfarim well, or decently, what I tried to accomplish with this series, you'll have a very solid, let's call it a solid familiarity with the fundamentals of true Torah thought. And you'll be able to build on that. You'll be able to understand. You'll have a context for what comes later. Sometimes, unfortunately, people have a lot of confusion. They hear ideas, they hear a little of this, a little of that, and they don't know where to fit things in. And a lot of that is because you don't have the basic prior level of thinking, of Torah thinking. Knowing these Sfarim well will give you that bedrock foundational knowledge that you could then plug other things into, okay? And the other criteria that I selected these 6 Sfarim on, based on, is that these Sfarim, I looked for Sfarim that are the most interesting and intriguing. I find them particularly interesting and intriguing, and on those 2 criteria, these are the 6 Sfarim selected. What I'm going to do is I'm going to treat this Sfarim, I'm going to deal with this Sfarim over the next year, so we have an exciting year ahead. I'm going to treat of them in chronological order, for the basic reason that if we're trying to understand the development of Torah thought, it's good to start from the beginning and go in order of time. I find that to be a very useful approach in general. First, we're going to start with Amunis V'Deis from Reb Sadi Gaon, which is in a certain sense the first Hashkafa work. And then we're going to go to Chovos HaLevavos, Rabbi ben Pekuda. Then we are going to go study the Kuzri, Yehuda Halevi. After that, Hamuna Harama, a very lesser known work, but of tremendously important and fascinating work from Ibn Daud, also known as the Ravid Harishan, and then Nebukhin of the Rambam, and lastly, for now, also a lesser known work, but of tremendously important, Or Hashem from Abchaste Kreskas. So, with this introduction, I leave you, and I look forward to a full and fruitful year of learning together. I expect the first year to be posted in 2 weeks. Okay, here's my introduction, and now, Bli Neder, every 2 weeks, I will attempt to deliver to you a shir on these Sfarim. The first one's going to be, of course, on Amunos V'Deis. Start analyzing the Sefer and giving you sense of what that fundamental Sefer is all about. See you in 2 weeks.